Genesis. All right, Genesis. That's real good. The title of the message tonight is Names. 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 Everybody has a name. In Greek, it's onoma. Onoma. And that means to law. According to law, you have a name. You can sign your name, and that is your signature, and you can go and make a contract and sign your name down there, and that's it. And a man's name is very, very important. All of my children, when they left the house, I said, remember who you are and what your name is. Always told them that. Remember who you are and what your name is. It's very, very important. I used the illustration this morning in the class. I think we only got one here that was here this morning. I'm going to use it again tonight because it fits both places. John Henry Holliday, that was Doc Holliday, Dr. John Henry Holliday. He was a Southern gentleman. Their name meant something to them there. They had a lot of pride in who they were, for generations of who they were. He had tuberculosis. He contracted that when he was young. A young man, his mother died of tuberculosis. He saw her slowly die. It was called consumption back then. He saw his adopted brother die. And he took off west. Some say to get away from a broken heart. He was in love with his cousin. And some say that he went west for the drier climate. He got out in the Wild West, and as you read that Shadow of an Indian Star, you will see how wild the West was. Is wild. That's the way it was back then. And he got into some gunfights. And a Southern gentleman, they were very polite. Yes, sir, no, sir, everything. But when you crossed them, it was a duel of honor. That's the way it was, a duel of honor. Well, he'd gotten a few duels, a few gunfights. And he happened to save Wyatt Earp's life one time. Just happened to save his life. And Wyatt Earp had a fondness for him after that. Of course, he saved his life. But they say that Doc Holliday was extremely loyal. Once he was your friend, he was your friend. A Southern gentleman, his friendship was his life, and his word his honor. They cleaned up Tombstone, Arizona. Tombstone, Arizona was run by outlaws. The West was so many times run by outlaws, and they would be the sheriffs, the outlaws. In Tombstone, Behan and the Cowboys. You saw the movie maybe Tombstone. That was pretty much what was going on. They were outlaws. They were cutthroats, killers, bank robbers. But the only thing about it is the people in town was they were getting money from these outlaws. They were going to spend a lot of money on their food and beer and wine and ice cream. You know, they had ice cream back then. They had ice cream parlors, and they would go in and they'd get ice cream and all these different doctored up drinks and things that they had back then. And they were spending a lot of money doing that, so they looked over their skullduggery. In Lincoln County, New Mexico, my family was over that problem. The Brady's, the Murphy, and the Dolan bunch over there, they were so powerful, and they had the politicians in their pockets. And when my family wanted to partner with John Tunstall, they went out to Lincoln County. They sent Fred out there, Fred Waite. And he got out there. About the time he got out there and went into business, he was going to put Billy Bonney or Billy the Kid on one of the ranches, go and partner with him. And about that time, they murdered John Tunstall. Skullduggery. Terrible skullduggery. And they got by with it. If Fred hadn't deputized the regulators and cleaned house and then went back to Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, they would have got by with that. In Tombstone, Arizona, they were trying to do the same thing. Well, they had that famous gunfight. Okay, correct. The governors of Arizona and New Mexico and Colorado all got together and got their heads together and said, how are we going to get the Earps and Holiday out of here without these bunch of thugs that are still alive there without killing all of them? So they got together and they put them on a night train and sent them out of there, and they got into Colorado. Colorado, they split up. Doc Holliday went one place, and he was pretty famous. His name preceded him. Well, he got into this area, and he was a really, they said they couldn't believe how much a gentleman he was, and he just got along with everybody. He was really a nice guy. And they thought he was such a bloodthirsty killer, according to the cowboy thing. One guy came up to him and he said, "Oh, Mr. Holliday, oh, Dr. Holliday, you saved my life." And started bowing down to him, started pulling his clothes off and showing him where bullet holes were in him and all this kind of junk. And his name was Milan. He was a nut. This Milan was a terrible guy. Milan was a shyster and a confident man. He saw him in the next town, and what had happened, he had gone over to John Behan, the sheriff over there, and the cowboys, and they were going to give him a reward for arresting Doc Holliday. So he goes in there, and he gets the sheriff in this other place in Colorado, Pueblo, Colorado, I believe it was, and he pulled the gun on Doc Holliday and said, "You're under arrest, you dirty rat. I've been chasing you for 7 years. You killed my partner and stole all of our money and everything else." He said, "I don't know you. You accosted me before and said I saved your life. Now you say I killed your partner." Well, they arrested him. It went on for months. They had all of this in the newspapers, how terrible that Doc Holliday was, and this man had chased him for 7 years. He was like a bird dog, like a hound on his trail, trying to find him, and he'd been shot, and he'd shot him before and all this stuff, and it was all baloney and lies. All right. Trying to ruin his name. All the governors got their heads together again. They sent a man from Tombstone that was really an honest sheriff. But they didn't think he'd get back with Doc Holliday or anybody alive because they were going to kill him. They were going to ambush him. But he wanted to try. But they finally decided they were not going to extradite him. And that this guy was an absolute fake. He ended up doing time in several prisons, and he had been in prison before for skullduggery and making up stories. He was a good liar. His name was no good. Well, Abram, let's look at Abram's name now. God changes Sarah's name, and God changed Abraham's name, didn't he? He put an H, a He. This He, and can you pronounce the Hebrew alphabet? Aleph, Bet, Gamel, Dalet, He. And what letter of that of the Hebrew alphabet is that? The fifth one. And 5 in the Bible is the number of what? Grace. So we find that God put in the middle of Abraham's name, He put a He in there for the number of grace. And his name was changed from Exalted Father to Exalted Father of a Multitude. And we're going to see some things that I haven't brought out before, but I'm going to try to bring it to you out tonight. And God said unto Abraham, look at that, Vayomer Elohim El Avraham. Can you say that? Vayomer Elohim El Avraham. Sadre. I'm going to put my glasses on now. Ishtika. Lo. Tikra. Et. Shema. Sareh. Ki. Sarah. Shema. All right, let's go back. And said God, and said Elohim, and kept on saying Elohim unto Abraham, Sarai. Remember what Sarai means? It comes from Ser. Ser means what? It means prince. But the idea of the prince is that he's a conqueror. He is one that has gone out and brutally conquered and controlled a whole area. He's contentious. He's a warrior. So her name was Contentious and Warrior, okay? Ready to fight. Chip on her shoulder all the time. A ruffian. Sarai, your wife. Ishtikah, wife to you. Lo, not. She shall be called Tikra, second person masculine singular, Cal imperfect. Not she shall keep on being called. And then it says Et Shema, name Sarai. because or but Sarah, Shema, her name. Sarah, Shema, her name. Now Sarah, look at that word Sarah. Sarah. The root of Sarah and Sarai are the same. But when you put the Hath on the end of it, you're adding the same letter that we added to Abraham's name, which is a number of grace. Okay? And you're making her name from Sarai to Sarah. And Israel. Israel. Just look at that, Israel. Whose name was Israel? Jacob's name was Israel. Okay? Jacob's name was Israel. Now, if you look in there, you're going to find out that the root of all these names, Sarai, Sarah, and Israel, are the same. Okay? Now, how did Israel get his name? His name was Yaakov, wasn't it? Jacob. Yaakov. Jacob, or Jacob, his name meant trickster, or one that follows the heel or grabs the heel. And God changed his name. One time the Lord appeared to him in his pre-Adamic form. Jesus appeared to Jacob in his pre-Adamic form. And Jacob wrestled with him all night long. He wouldn't let him go, and he said, I won't let you go unless you wrestle with me. And God said, you shall be called the man who wrestles or contends with God. All right? The man who wrestles or contends with God. The contentious one, the fighter, the one who fought God. Yisrael, see there, prince, or prince of God, the man who wrestles with God. That's what Israel means. So Sarai, contending, prevailing, rebellious woman, her name is changed to princess. All right, princess. Abraham's name is changed from Avram, exalted father, to Abraham, which means exalted father of a multitude. All right.
What letters make up the root of Sarah?
Sarah. When you look at, we'll get in here, we'll find later on, well actually we did earlier.
Just the two letters?
Yeah, Sarah. All right. Sarah, with all different prefixes and suffixes and even in between. All right. Israel. See, all in there. All right. Names mean a lot. Names mean a lot in the Bible. The first 10 names in the Bible, I've gone over them with you, and the first 10 names in the Bible tell the whole story of salvation, don't they? From Adam to Noah. Tells about the whole plan of salvation, God's plan of salvation. Names mean a lot. Yubarakti. Otah. Wigam. Natati. Memena. Laka. Ben. Yubaraktiha. Wihayeta. The Goyim. Malki. Amim. Memena. Yeh. All right. Now that's pretty Hebrew, isn't it? And I shall intensely bless you. I shall intensely have blessed you. This is what we call like a future perfect. I will have completely and intensely blessed you. This is where we get the word barak from. All right, barak. Otah, I will intensely bless her, and also wigam. See, with, that's and, that's a conjunction, and then gam is also wigam. And I shall have given. I shall have given. First person construct singular, cal, perfect. I shall have given from her to you according to a pattern. That's what it literally says, but that is ben, isn't it? Likah, ben. Likah, ben. a son according to a pattern. Now, Abraham thinks this is pretty funny. He already has a son. He had a young, beautiful little Egyptian girl who brought him a son, and his name was Ishmael, wasn't it? Ishmael, which means God's here. God hears. And Yuvaraktiha, and I shall continuously and intensely bless her, and she shall become for a nation. They go yim. For a nations is what it actually said. For nations. That's plural. She shall become for nations. Third person, feminine, singular, call, wow, consecutive, perfect. That verb is maki, kings. Kings. Kings and peoples. Many peoples. From her shall keep on becoming. Third person, masculine, plural. These people shall keep on. Kings shall keep on coming from her. Call imperfect. By the way, that word become there, it's the same root for Jehovah. All right, Hayah.
Dr. Phillips?
Yes.
Could you repeat the EU pronunciation?
Yihyu. Yihyu.
Issue.
Yihyu. Yihyu. All right. Wayipol. Aram. El. Hanal. Wayishak. Wayomer. Philippo. Haleven. Now, in modern Hebrew, that would be Haleven. Miah. Am I saying that right, Brother Randall? You know modern Hebrew. That's where you learned it to begin with, wasn't it? Yeah. All right. Shana. Yepwell led. Weim. Sarah. Havat. In modern Hebrew would be Havat. Tishim. Shana. Teved. Now let's go back and look at this fellow. This verse. Wayipol. And he kept on falling and stayed on his face. All right? He kept on falling and fell on his face. This is Nephal. All right? Nephal. This is where we get the Nephilim from. This word right here. This is root. And he kept on falling on his face and stayed upon his face, Abraham, upon Panah, his face. And he laughed. And he kept on laughing, and he kept on laughing. He couldn't control his laughter. His laughter was very contagious because his wife got it too. Sometimes when you hear somebody laugh, a lot of people start laughing, whether they know what they're laughing about or not. He just told him his 90-year-old wife's going to have a baby. And here he is 100, and you got a 90-year-old wife, and she's going to have a baby. Abraham could have had children. He did have children, but that old woman was wore out. She was beyond the age of childbearing, 90 years old. Older than all you girls in here. About 10 or 20 years. Or 30. Now my grandmother, my great-great-great-grandmother, had 3 children. From most of what history tells us, she was born in 1797. And my great-great-grandfather, Samuel Eichard Paul, was born in April 1848. Now tell me how old she was when that baby was born. She was born in 1797. He was born in 1848. Now she'd had 3 children before him. But she was in her 50s. Then she had 2 more after that. She had Jesse and she had Sippy. You'll read about them in that book, Shadow of the Indian Star. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This girl was a whole lot older than my grandma. My great-grandmother, Hattie Jane Paul, had children for 30 years. She was bearing children for 30 years. She bearing children from 17 or 1890 something all the way to just about 1930. And she was born in 1883. So both of those, her mother and her, both had children over a long period of time. But here we have a woman that had been barren all of her life, and she now gets her name changed. Grace is put in her name. And God's going to make her barren, but they're laughing about it. And they kept on laughing. Third person masculine singular, cal, wow, consecutive, and perfect. And he said, Wyomer, and he said in his heart, not openly, but in his heart, Belibo. Say that word. Belibo. Belibo. And he said in his heart, Law, Halivan. Shall a son, 100 years, shall be born? I'm 100 years old, and shall a son shall be born? Third person masculine singular, Nephal imperfect. This child shall keep on producing and keep on growing until he pops out and he's born. Yaled. Weim and Sarah. Sarah. A daughter, 90 years, bring forth a child. She shall bring forth a child. She shall keep on producing this child in her until it's grown and she gives birth to it. That's impossible. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Miracles are not impossible for God. That's just a challenge. Just a challenge, that's all. But that's what makes him God, isn't it? He's supernatural. We live in a natural world, and we always understand natural things. We see sometimes women like my great-great-great-grandmother that had children up until she was 50, almost 60 years old. That's very unusual. But it happens. But this one's 90. I don't think in history any woman besides Sarah ever had a child at 90. I don't think so. Most of them didn't live that long. Brother.
The age of Methuselah, like Adam and Eve, and
but way back in the
they lived almost 1,000 years.
Yes. Now women did have children a long time because they lived a long time back then. Eve could have had 1,000 children. Yes. Okay. But on this side of Noah, things changed. The earth changed tremendously. On this side of Noah, then things changed. I don't think in any time in history that any woman had children when they were 90 years old this side of Noah. Now back with Eve and that generation back there before the flood, yes, that was possible, but not on this side of the flood. Different. All right? And I'm going to tell you something. Abraham knew Noah. He was alive, and he knew his grandfather. Or actually, the Hebrew doesn't have any word for grandfather. They just call him father. Sometimes I'll lump my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, and great-great-great-grandfather, and say, call him my grandfather. Thinking in Hebrew, it's just my father. They were my father back then, like Hebrew. All right. Wyomer Avram, El Ha-Elohim, Lu, Ishmael, Yeheh, Lafanika. Thank you. Cindy, say that again real loud there. Lafanika, that's good. Lafanika. Lafanika means before your face. And said, and kept on saying, Abraham, unto the God, the God of heaven, Ha Elohim. Lu, behold, look, or would that Ishmael might live. Third person masculine singular, cal imperfect. Why doesn't Ishmael keep on living and keep on being my heir? I want him to be my heir, God. I want Ishmael to be my heir. I don't need another child. I got one. I have one. Bethlehem, before your face. Now Abraham dearly loved Ishmael. Ishmael was his earthly hope in continuing his name. Isaac would be God's gift and promised son and the heir of God's promises, totally separate from all of his good intentions, by grace alone and not of any earthly deeds. The covenant is based upon grace alone and election by God. This morning we studied the book of Malachi. Malachi 1 and 2. It says, I elected Jacob. I elected Israel. Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. And just remember, when we go back into Matthew, the first chapter, we're going to see Esau's descendant on the throne of Israel. That's a joke. That's a joke. No way should have been Esau on the throne. Genesis 16 and 13 and Genesis 22 cross into this. 17 and verse 9. Genesis 17, 16, 18, 10, 21, 2, and 26, 2 through 5 are cross-references to this next verse. Wayomer, Elohim, Aval, Sarah, Ishtika, Galedet, Lika, Ben, Wikarata, Et, Shumo, Yitzchak, Wahai Mati, Et, Bariti, Ito, Livret, Olam, Lazara, Achara. All right, let's go back and look at this verse then. And kept on saying, God, Elohim, of all, surely. Sarah, I want you to know, surely, of all, surely, absolutely, Sarah, your Ishtika, your wife, she shall be bringing forth. See that participle there? She shall be bringing forth to you, or for you, a son. And son means what? According to a pattern. I want you to understand. It means according to a pattern. According to a pattern. Think about it. Think about your family. Think about people in your family. How many of them look alike? According to a pattern. The woman, when she has a child, she always says, look, he looks how much like he looks like his daddy. She never said, look like my daddy. I look like his dad. Won't prove that's his kid, but sometimes they do. My son Jimmy, my oldest boy, by the time he was born, all of my uncles were dead. All of my great uncles were dead. And he didn't know, well, there were a couple of them left. But he didn't see them in the prime of their lives. And my son Jimmy looks like a Paul. He looked just like my Uncle Willie Paul. And they all looked alike. Looked a lot alike. I look like my family. There's a lot in there. If you look in that album there, and this is the most unusual thing. My family were pretty dark. But these dark Indians all had steel gray eyes. And I couldn't figure out where in the world these Chickasaw Indians came up with these steel gray eyes until I saw a picture of my grandfather, well, my great-great-grandfather, Sam Paul, which he's dark with gray eyes. And then I saw a picture of my great-great-great-grandfather, Smith Paul, and he's got these gray eyes. That's where they came from. The traits that come according to a pattern. According to a pattern. Remember that word, ben, according to a pattern. When we're born into this world, we're either blessed or cursed according to the pattern. Blessed or cursed according to the pattern. we're blessed in that we have life. We have parents that have brought us into this world and to raise us up. And we're cursed because we're all related to Adam and we're all sinners by nature, according to a pattern. And you shall call Wikarata, and you shall call Et. Name Shemo Yitzchak. Yitzchak. Now, remember I told you a little bit about this name here a while back. We were studying about this name, Yitzchak. Remember when I tell you Yitzchak is a shortened form. Yitzchak is a shortened form of Yitzchakal. Yitzchakal. So you can put down there Yitzchakal on the end with a Alif and a Lemet on the end of it. Yitzchakal. Because God laughed. Now this is God's joke on man. God laughs. God's laughing here. He's laughing. These people don't believe. Here we have the father of all faith, what we call the father of all the faithful. We have Abraham, and Abraham just doesn't believe God can make Sarah have a baby. I don't think I believe that Abraham believed that he could be a father, but not with that old woman. She had been his wife for many years, and they sure didn't have any children before, but God is going to bring forth this miraculous birth. Now, in the Bible, how many miraculous births do we have? Just think back now. Put your thinking hats on. Use that thing on top of your shoulder for something besides a knot to tie your spinal cord with, as old Boy Chastain used to say. Put your thinking cap on. How many miraculous births do we have in the Bible? You can go from Genesis onward, and you are going to find quite a few. Think back. Samuel. All right, that was a miraculous birth, wasn't it? How about John the Baptist? His mother had been barren, and John the Baptist, God sent Gabriel to appear unto him and talk to him. And while he was ministering in the temple area, God revealed to him that he was going to have a child. His wife was going to conceive, and he just didn't believe it either. And because he didn't believe it, what happened to him? He couldn't talk. Well, there's been quite a few miraculous births in the Bible. Just go back and think about some of them. Think about some of the miraculous births. Well, here's another one. Mary. Mary was a miraculous birth. Mary didn't have a husband. I mean, she had a husband, but she had never cohabited with her husband. He was her espoused husband, as good as married. But they would stay apart for a while to see how faithful the woman was going to be. All right? And she got pregnant. And God appeared unto Joseph and said, do not be afraid to take your wife unto you, for she is with a child by the Holy Spirit. All right. It's not by some other dude, by the Holy Spirit. Okay? Yitzchak. Yitzchakel. God laughs. Why? Ha. Yimati. And I shall establish, I shall be building up my covenant, my barit, my covenant. Look at that sign of the direct object in there. How do you say that? Etz. Put a little th on the end of that. Etz. See, it doesn't have the dot in the middle of it, so it's an et, not an et. Now the modern Hebrews will call it et. All right? Sign of the direct object. What is the Greek sign of the direct object? Ace. And the grammatical pronouncement of it is extension or limitation of thought or verbal action. Okay. And that's basically what it is. Something's coming this way. And I shall establish my covenant with him. With who? Yitzchak, this boy that's not even born yet. Yitzchakal, God laughs. And for a covenant, leh, barit. See that leh in the front of it there? That lamet? That means for a covenant. And how long? Ace tonion, olam, forever. Ace tonion, that is Greek for that one word here in Hebrew, olam. For eternity. for a long, long duration, a continuous duration. These are all, and to his seed after him, achara. To his seed, that word seed there, that's zerah. Remember the word seed? What's the word seed in Hebrew, or Greek that is? Sperma. All right, it's sperma. 17 and verse 20. We're clipping right along here. Are we going too fast for you? Marilyn says I go too fast. Am I going too fast for you tonight, Marilyn? Oh, you're staying up. Okay. 17 and verse 20. We're going to have this book finished before long. We're moving along. Ulishmel. Shamatika. Enet. Berakti. Otah. Wihith. Fariti. Otah. We hear biti. Otah. Amid. Meod. Shanam. Asher. Nesim. Yulit. Unitatiu. Lago. Gadol. Some unusual words in there. We haven't pronounced some of these before. And for Ishmael, Yule Ishmael. All right. And for Ishmael, I have heard you. All right. I have heard you. I have already heard you. All right. First person construct singular, cal perfect. Suffix second person masculine singular. All of that's in that Shamatika. I have heard you. What does Ishmael's name mean? I have heard. God hears. I have heard you. I have heard you about I have heard you. That's kind of like double talk. I have heard you about I have heard you. Hine, and behold, Barakti, and I shall intensely have blessed him. Now that word is PL perfect. PL perfect. I shall have intensely blessed him, Otah, and I shall have made fruitful him. And you know, he's looking at this boy as if he's already turned into a nation. God can do that. We live in space and time, but God lives in eternity, and he can look ahead. He's not hampered by our physical limitations. We are natural beings. He is supernatural being, beyond natural. We are limited to space and time. We can't jump over here to the millennium right now, can we? We can't jump there and be in the millennium right now. God can. He can write that as if it's already happened. That's the inspiration of God. That's what we call God living in many dimensions. We talk about a somewhat. They got an idea right now. We live in a 10-dimensional world. God and angels and spirits are intradimensional. They can go from one dimension to the other. We're stuck in this dimension. And I shall have multiplied him exceedingly, bimod. Bimod, being in exceedingly. Be is in. Page 88, if you want to write that down. Be. In, and then meod is 547. 88 and 547. I guess I write it down for myself. It'll be in my book. Exceedingly. Bimod, meod. There we have the same thing, exceedingly. Shenem, 2. And Asher, all right. 2 and 10. Nesim, princes. And I'm going to make 12 princes out of him. He tells us how many children he's going to have. He's going to have 12 princes. And here we have the word Nesim. Now, what is in that? We see that word prince in there, don't we? Ser is in the middle of that word. Ser, which we have Sarai and Sarah, and we have Israel, all in the middle of that word right there. Prince. Yolid. And he shall be procreating and keep on procreating, and I will make for him a nation great. Gadol. I shall make for him a nation great. And basically, there's where we have almost all the Arab nations that we have today. It's from this little fellow right here, Ishmael. And of course, all of the Muslims in the world today claim him as their father, don't they? All the Muslims, they claim him as their father. And the Muslim world, the Muslim world says that God did not offer Isaac on Mount Moriah, but God offered Ishmael instead. They say that the Old Testament, they believe the Old Testament, but that the Jews switched it around to make them look bad. And they believe the New Testament also. They say that they believe the New Testament, the Muslims. I've dealt a lot with Muslims. And the Muslims say that they believe the New Testament also. They believe in Jesus. But Jesus was a prophet. But the greatest prophet of all was who? Muhammad. And that he gave the Quran, which is absolutely perfect. You can go out and burn all the Bibles you want, because it's not perfect as far as they're concerned. I'm going to tell you something, as far as I'm concerned, it's perfect. And I've got the Quran also. The Quran just a little bit decrepit. Well, Ishmael, God here, the God of the little people, that little girl, Hagar. Hagar means what? Wanderer. God of the little people. God took care of her and watched after her. People are kind. My great-great-great-grandfather, Smith Paul, I am proud of what he did in Mississippi and all the way into Indian Territory. I'm proud of the great empire that he founded there with hard work. He wanted some place that was fair. We don't have places that are fair. If you, here in Kern County, I'm going to tell you something. If you want justice, you better be able to pay for it. If you go up in Washington, if you want something done, you better be able to pay for it. This country is run on money. It's run by money. We have a lot of people up there that do nothing but go up there and pay senators and representatives off. What do you call these people? What are they? Lobbyists. That is the most ungodly thing in this world, lobbyists. They all ought to have their throats cut, guillotined, or something. There is no reason for them to be in our government at all. Up there, they're messing with it. They're corrupting it. They're corrupt. It's corrupt. Corruption in the Bible. Corruption and greed. We find that. The love of money is the root of all. Money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. The love of power and pride and all these things. That's corruption. We at Bariti, Alpine, Et, Yitzhak, Asher, Shaled, Lika, Sarah, La Muded, Hazeh, Ba Shana, Ha Charet, and my cutting my covenant. The word cutting there is barit. It means to divide, doesn't it? This is the idea that two people would go and they would take a lamb, a turtle dove, and all of it, and they would take two turtle doves and they'd kill one, put one on one side, kill the other, and put it on the other side. They wouldn't divide them, but they would divide all the lambs. There was a cutting there. They divide these, put one on one side, one on the other, and they'd have a great big feast. And they'd walk between, and they would shake each other's foot. They'd have each other's sandals to them. That's what they did. All right. And my covenant, my cutting, I shall keep on making with Yitzchak. Yitzchak. How was his name originally? Yitzchakel. It's God laughs. All right. Yitzchak means laughter. Whom she shall keep on bearing till he comes forth. For you, Sarah. All right. La me la moed. At a season. The this. Hazeh. The this. In the year Ha-Charet. The next. All right. When she goes through her gestation period. By the way, gestation periods are made up of how many days? Of weeks, or 7 weeks. 7 is the number of what in the Bible? Perfection. Made up of 7. A chicken is born in 21 days. 3 sevens. 3 7. All right? Your cows, your horses, your pigs, all that, they have carried their babies for numbers or multiplications of weeks. Genesis 17:19, 18:10, and 14 and 21:8 are cross-reference to this one. Wakal. La Davar. Ito. Waya'al. Elohim. Mial. Avram. And completed and ended intensely. This was a strong speech. See that PL stem there? That's third person masculine singular. PL, wow, consecutive and perfect. God spoke to Abraham for an extended period of time, and He spoke to him with great force and dynamic power and with prophecy. Okay? He spoke to him powerfully. Okay? Powerfully. To speak. La Davar. La Davar. PL, infinitive construct. PL stem, infinitive construct. Davar. Remember that? Davar means what? Word. Word. Remember those Davar. When you think about words, when I say Lego, proceed to you, when I speak to you in Greek, Lego means what? Lego and Davar are closely related words. They go from one language to another. Lego means, when you say Lego, for this old machine over here, it's been working really well lately. I haven't had any fits with it or anything. It clicked. Did you see it clicking off there? It doesn't. I don't have to wait for it to go kick, clicking or anything like that. It just clicks. The word Lego. Draw a picture in your mind, because this is a Hebrew, or not the Hebrew, but the Greek etymology of this word. We see a little bird out in the field. And the little bird or chicken out there, he's picking up seeds. He's picking out seeds. One seed from there. He picks up one. Sometimes he'll drop it out of his mouth. A bird has to eat gravel. Did you know that? That's the bird's teeth is gravel. So they'll go out and pick up sharp pieces of gravel, and they'll pick up seeds and everything, and they'll look between, and they'll pick up these seeds and everything until they pick out everything they want. That's the word what Lego means. It means to pick out. And what we do is when we speak to one another, the Hebrew figure of speech, or the Greek figure of speech is that we line up in a row words so we can communicate. From my vocabulary, I line up words. Now, when you go to different parts of the country, you'll find out that they have different dialects. They may say the same thing, but they say it differently. They line up the words, so they line them up. Now, the Hebrew word davar, it means to set in a row. It means to set in a row. You can set a fence post in a row. A long time ago, 150 years ago, in California, they hired a lot of Chinese laborers from China. and they went up in the north part of California, and you'll go up there and you'll see fields out there with fences. The fences are made out of rock. They were very rocky fields, and they would go pile these fences, and some of these fences are miles long. That's the word to line up, to put in a row, the bar. Now, when you go out and you have your army, who's been in an army here? Anybody been in an army? Randall's been in an army. You have to line up, don't you? That's what the word debar means, to set up and line up. A fence is in a line. The army is in a line. Trees are in a line. You put a tree line in. A tree line. You plant a row of corn or a row of cotton in a line. That would be the word debar. And also, you put words in a line to communicate. Just like Lego, we have it the same thing in debar. Debar means to communicate. Debar means to line up. And when we look at the word in the New Testament logo, it comes from the idea that that was the Hebrew word for the name of God, Devar or Hashem, the name or the word. All right. 17:23. And it's, yes.
God, in here, in this, according to this verse, God means angel.
This was God. This is Jesus. This is Jehovah. Jehovah spoke to Abraham. Jehovah appeared to Abraham. This is the pre-incarnate Christ appearing to Abraham. All right? The pre-incarnate Christ. Sometimes he's called the angel of Jehovah, the messenger of Jehovah. You might say the messenger of Jehovah. All right? Sometimes it's an angel, but many times when it's talking about the angel of the Lord, it's talking about the Lord himself. The Lord himself is the messenger. When Jesus came on, he was a messenger of Jehovah, but he was Jehovah, wasn't he? He was the message and the messenger. All right, 17:23a. Genesis 14:14 and Genesis 17:9-11 are cross references to this. Goes right back. Vayikach Avram et Yishmael Beno Viet Kal Yelit Bito Viet Kal Miknot Kaspol Zakar Kal Zakar Bianchi Bet Abraham Wayamal Et Basar Ari Le Latam Beetsin Hayom Hezah Ta Asher Eber Ito Elohim. That's a long verse now. Vayikach. And he kept on taking Abraham, et Ishmael, his son, and all issue. They used to use different terms in the old days. In the 1800s, they used different terms than they do today. Today, we say a person's children. Back in the 1800s, they would say, how many do you have issue? And you'll see this in some of the old books. You'll see the term issue. Did they have any issue? Did a woman and a man have issue? And that's what it's talking about. All issue, all children. His house. And all purchase. All those purchased with silver. With his silver. Kashto. With his silver. And all males a car, and all male in men, his house of Abraham, and he cut around. Why Yemol? Why Yemol? And he cut around at the flesh, basar. What's the word flesh in Greek? What's the word flesh in Greek? Huh? Sarx. All right. And this is what we call circumcision. And then it says arila tal, their foreskin, in the bone. It says bietzina, bietzim, that is, bietzim, in the bone. Hebrew is extremely explanatory. As simple as that. That's the way it is. Hebrew is extremely in the bone. Why in the world would he call it in the bone? The flesh of the foreskin is outside his flesh. And they cut all that flesh off, and what they call the bone, that which can become erect, the bone, okay, they leave. All right? All of the foreskin around the bone, they cut off. That's what it literally says in Hebrew. Hayom. The day, this, just as had spoken with him God. God told him to take all of your children, all of Ishmael's children, all of your slaves that you have bought with silver, everybody, every male in your house, and you circumcise every one of them, because I'm going to allow every one of them to be my covenanted children. I'm going to let every one of them be my covenanted children. So he is accepting them, all of them. Not only this, but tradition says, the rabbinical writings say that Abraham took out every one of these foreigners and he baptized them. And he took them out, and the word baptism is only immersion. Baptism, baptizo, means to dip. The Latin equivalent of baptizo is what? Mergio, which we get our word immersion from. There is no other baptism. It's not sprinkling. Sprinkling, in Greek, if you said sprinkle something, it would be rantizo. If you wanted to pour something on somebody, Marilyn, what would it be? Come on now, you can do this.
I can't think of it.
Huh? You can't say nipto.
Oh, yes.
Nipto. Rantizo is sprinkling, nipto is pour, and baptizo is to immerse. He took out every one of these people, and they died. Baptism teaches it's a death, burial, and resurrection. That's what baptism teaches. It's a sign of the covenant. In the Old Testament, the sign of the covenant was barit, was circumcision. Peritome, we got around in Greek. It was the circumcision. In the New Testament, when Paul accused the Jews of wanting to circumcise all of the New Testament church members, all the Greeks, all of the Gentiles that came, he said they need to be circumcised. And then, you know what Paul called them?
Mutilators.
The mutilators. You're mutilating your flesh. Because in the New Testament, circumcision is not the sign of the covenant. Circumcision was a sign of the old covenant, but not the new covenant. Okay? The sign of the new covenant, the reason why you're baptized is because you have been saved. You have asked God to forgive your sins and to save your soul. And you believe in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So then when you do that, the next step, now you could be born again like that, and you could ask the Lord to save you, and if you never got baptized, you're going to go to heaven. That's all right. But you ought to be baptized, because that is what God commands you to do. And when you are baptized, that opens church membership too. You're baptized into the church, basically. The prerequisite of becoming a church member is baptism. You're not a church member until you're baptized. All right? When you're baptized, then that is how you get into the church. And you sign the new covenant. It is an external sign of what's already happened to you inside. Okay? All right. Are we on 723b, 724, and 1724 now? Now, Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised. By the way, I want you to understand something. Abraham did not have the promised child until he was circumcised. The other child he had, he was not circumcised when he had the child. He had not signed the covenant when he had that child. The sign of the old covenant was what? Circumcision. All right. We Abraham ben Tishim wa Tisha Shana Bihim Malo Basar Arilato. And Abraham, son of 90. In other words, it says son of 90. He was not. He had been somebody's son, but he, on this side of being born, he was 90 years. That's what the idea of that is. Okay, that's kind of weird language, but he said he was a son of 90 years old. He was born and he had 90 years behind him. All right, a son of 90 years old in 9 years, being circumcised flesh. All right, in his flesh, of his foreskin. Now, did Abraham circumcise himself? What happened? Huh? Is that okay? And Abraham, a son of 90 and 9 years old, being circumcised. Nethel, infinitive construct. Being circumcised in flesh of his foreskin. Being circumcised. Whether God did it, or whether he had one of his servants do it. Remember, he had that one faithful servant, or whether he did it himself. Circumcision is painful. Circumcision is painful. Being born again is painful. You know that. When you're saved, when you come to the knowledge that you are a sinner, it's pain. I had one of my students in here, Brother Allen, this morning. I just love that guy. He was in here today, and he said, what, a year ago? He said, if you'd have asked me, he said, I would have just went right into the flames of hell. I realized that I was going into the flames of hell. And that's misery, boy, when you face hell. Have you ever really thought about hell? Have you ever thought about, without Jesus Christ, we would be in the flames of hell. And I mean, that's going to be a real place, people. We'd be in the flames of hell without Jesus. When you realize that you're a sinner and that has separated you from God, and I don't care how good you are, we're sinners. Your good deeds will not outweigh your bad deeds. That just isn't going to happen. That's the Muslim way. The Muslims, if you have more good deeds than you have bad deeds, you're going to be all right. A lot of people today, you ask them, why would God let you into heaven? Well, I'm not a bad person. I've done more good than I've bad. I've never killed anybody. I've never killed anybody. So I haven't ever stolen anything. Much. They'll say. But that's not what gets you to heaven. The only way anybody's going to get to heaven is by the blood of Jesus Christ. You've got to ask the Lord to save you and forgive your soul. Or forgive your sins and save your soul. Then you go to heaven. God had signed a covenant with Abraham. Now Abraham signs a covenant with God. This contract is like baptism. This contract results in a physical blessing. The other covenant has eternal and spiritual blessings. This covenant, signed by Abraham, has spiritual blessing also, but now he receives the son of promise after circumcision. Today we are saved and added to the family of God without baptism. Then, if we follow in spiritual baptism and physical service to God, we have certain present blessings which also can follow us into eternity. Remember, I tell you to go out and do something eternal every week, don't you? Go out and do something eternal. Go out there and do something that will follow you into eternity. We can spend all of our time. We can buy good houses. We can buy nice cars and all this kind of stuff. We can do all kinds of stuff and make money in the world. But that will not follow you. That which follows you is what you do for the Lord, not for yourself. That's what follows you. Yishmael, Zano, Dan, Shalosh, Esreth, Shana, Behim Molo, Et Basar. Arilato. And Ishmael, his son, Psalm 3:10. He was 13 years old, being circumcised. Now we know probably who circumcised him, don't we? Probably Abraham. Et flesh of his bone. All right. Ishmael is circumcised at 13 years old. When Abraham penetrated Hagar as an uncircumcised man, and she became pregnant, that was a seed of the flesh. That was his doing. He decided, and Sarah decided, that they were going to get an heir, because Abraham didn't have one. So they were going to physically bring this heir about, and it was very possible to do that, wasn't it? When he penetrated Hagar, when he gave sperm to her, she caught the sperm, as it says in Hebrew, and she produced a child in her womb. And that happened. It's history. And it was possible, fleshly, wasn't it? But now God cuts the flesh off of his foreskin, and the next time when he goes into Sarah by faith, she conceived a child 90 years old. That's something. 1726. You about ready to quit? Two more? No's?
We finished the chapter.
Deals? Okay. 26. Oh yes, we can do it. If we do two more, we can finish chapter 17, and then we'll be in the 18th chapter. B.S.C. Hayom. Hazeh. Nemo. Thank you, Marilyn. Avram. Yishmael. Beno. So you guys read that to me now, would you please? Read it to me. B.S.C. Hayom. Hazeh. Nemo. Avram. Yishmael. Beno. Thank you very much. In bone, all right, circumcised in bone. That's in. In bone the day of this was circumcised Abram and Ishmael his son. All right. Was circumcised Abraham and Ishmael his son. The cross reference to this is Genesis 14, verse 14. All right, in this day. That's the day. The covenant is signed in blood. The old covenant was signed in blood, and the new covenant is signed in blood. So think about that. Blood is an issue. Blood. The Bible talks about a bloody religion. Blood. What was all this blood supposed to be talking about? What was a future sign of the blood of the covenant? When Jesus Christ was beaten and flogged with a cat of nine tails, when his hands, when they drove the nails through his carpal tunnel in his wrist, boy, that I think about that. See, I had carpal tunnel problem. Got scars in my carpal tunnel. Looked like I was nailed to a cross or something. Nailed. His feet and his hands were nailed, and he bled. He was bleeding from the beating and bleeding from the nails in his feet and his hands. And then they came, after he died, he gave up his spirit, he breathed out his spirit. Then they came and took Goliath's sword, according to tradition, and stabbed him in the heart with it. So, this covenant signed in blood, we call Anshi, Bito, Yalit, Bayit, Umik, Note, Kaseth, Miet, Ben, Nikar, Nimalo, Ito. And all men, all Anshi, all men, his house, this word This is Ish, by the way. Ish, this is where the word Ish comes from. Ish means man, mankind, men. And all men we call, and this we call is all, Anshi, men, his house, man, that's Bet. Bet is house, Bet. Bethlehem means what? House of bread. That's where Jesus was born. In his house, a issue, offspring, Yelid. House and a purchased of silver from Miet, from son of strangeness, Gentiles, strangeness, foreigner, Nivalo, were circumcised with him. They were all circumcised with him. Now we're in the 18th chapter next week. Now, is that all right with you? This is 9/4, isn't it? 2011. That doesn't even sound... I never thought I was going to get this far along in life. I figured I'd kill myself around doing some wild or crazy thing, riding some bronc or falling off of some cliff or getting run over by some car or something. My cousin Cindy Paul, she wants me to write a book about the man that wouldn't die. Through all the thrashings that I've got through life. But we all die anyway, don't we? Abraham was pretty old. Noah was old when he died, but they all died. Adam was old when he died, but he died dead, didn't he? We all die dead. If the Lord doesn't rapture us, in the meanwhile, we're going to die dead. All right. We'll start there next week. Thank you for your endurance, and I really am enjoying teaching this. We're clipping along here pretty good at Hebrew. Let's go out and do something eternal. And Cindy, would you mind dismissing us in prayer, please, young lady?
Dear Father, we thank you that you allow us to come to you on an everyday basis. And I just praise you and thank you for who you are. Help us to take what Jim has taught us tonight and apply it to our lives and to relay it to as many people as we possibly can. It's really important that those people who maybe don't have the same opportunities that we have to be able to hear the word. And part of the reason for me coming to this class is that I can tell other people what you have let me learn each week. So I just pray that you would help all of us to do something eternal and to come back next week ready to learn more what you have taught us. I ask this in your name.
Amen. As several of you are reading that shadow of an Indian star, I had one of my students read it, and he had real trouble coming to the Lord. He was from a Jehovah's Witness background, and when he read that book, he had from being from that background and everything else, he didn't think he could be saved. And after he read that book, he said, if that man can come from those people and stand up there and preach God's word, anybody can be saved. Those wild Indians. And so anyway, God can save anybody. I guarantee you, He can save anybody. I don't care how bad you are or how good you are, He can save you. Some people He has trouble saving because they think they're too good. Go out and do something eternal. We had